What's going on, Josh?
What's up, sir?
Not much, man. We had planned to get together tonight and talk about the Hoosiers and kind of the legacy of high school basketball in Indiana, but we're going to take a pause on that. Tonight just had a tragic event happen today. Um, Kobe Bryant passed away in a helicopter crash earlier today, and it was just one of those moments that we were texting and talked for a minute and just seemed like it needed to be memorialized in the moment. I'm sure we'll talk about it again in the future, but certainly just I never experienced anything quite like this, at least from a sports standpoint.
Yeah, it's so sad, right? Like I was texting you that I couldn't even keep it together during the coverage, and I was the first to say that I was never like a Kobe guy, if you want to call his
Right.
fans that. I never really like championed Kobe Bryant as a basketball player. He was never one of my favorite players, and I always had some strong thoughts. Um, Early on in his career too, and we'll kind of walk through that type of stuff. Just in our remembrance. But man, the family dynamic and the family aspect of it as a father and as somebody around close to his age with a daughter close to his daughter's age, that just hit hard, man. I had to take a break from the news coverage and social media. I could not keep it together. My 2-year-old Duke was looking at me like, are you okay? And then like as I would look at him and as a dad, like it was making me cry harder. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It was
It was
unique. He was, I think the news reports were saying that he was flying to his daughter's game. And when I talked to you, you were just finishing your son's game. So I
yeah, that was
think, yeah, go ahead.
that was the other part was the not that it hits close to home, but just the similar parallels to it or whatever. I was at my son's game that started at noon, and then about 5 minutes into his game, my phone just started going
Hmm.
bananas. And word started to kind of trickle through the gym, and people were just like stunned, man, just absolutely stunned. But we had no idea that it involved other families and involved other young
Hmm.
people. And that's the hardest thing. We've had to deal with that at our school in the past is
Yeah.
is some of our young students passing, and that's just never an easy thing, and you never fully come to grips
No.
with that. And you set aside, like for me, I set aside Kobe Bryant, the basketball guy. That wasn't.
Yeah. And just I know you just personally too recently have had some loss, and I think, you know, I'm gonna piggyback on what you were saying. Just give you a minute, you jump back in when you're ready. But he's like the first guy that parallels our own life. I mean, he's a contemporary. He graduated the same time from high school that I did, and where Michael Jordan was someone that was just like a god to me. Kobe was somebody that I followed his whole career, but seemed like with if I had been blessed with his talents, I could have projected myself into a lot of the things that he did, and was just so interested to watch his background. Such a unique guy. Um, Came through some personal controversies in his life, and ultimately kind of transcended those and became probably the, if not the greatest Laker ever, the one that the most people I think cheered for, at least right
Oh yeah,
now.
beloved. Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt. Well, what I was starting to say was you put the basketball stuff to the side, and you're thinking of the family, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just tough,
Yeah.
because you have all those people affected, and it's not just Kobe and his family, but the other families that were involved in it too. And
No
you
doubt.
think of all the ripple effects of that stuff, and it's really hard to
Yeah.
come to terms with and comprehend and all that stuff. But to your point, the Kobe, like the Jordan was like the Jordan, and you hit the nail on the head. Like he was just some untouchable,
Mm-hmm.
to us.
Unknowable.
Yeah, I mean, we were so young, then, and he was just so godlike. But Kobe was really interesting because he came right at the tail end of the Jordan era,
Mm-hmm.
but then he came through the social media
Yeah.
uh, era too.
Yeah.
So like you got to really kind of grow with him. And I put in the 99 Instagram post that he was one of the first that we got to see grow up before our eyes.
Right. His whole
Because
life was on camera, right?
right, and he came to the league so young, and we just kind of got to see it. And I love Kobe, like the high school Kobe, the
Yeah.
phenom Kobe. Like I loved him. I went and
Slam
bought.
Kobe.
Oh, I bought those Oakleys that he wore to his press conference that he was announcing that he went pro, and I was like all in. But I loved all those high school dudes back then,
Yeah.
man, that made the jump because that was kind of like the first era of those guys too. Your McGrady's and O'Neal's and Garnett's and Kobe's and how special those guys were to actually make it.
What high school did he go to?
Yeah, man, just he went to Lower Merion. Come on, man.
No, I love it. But it's just such a weird thing to like know what high school some basketball player went to. I mean, I don't even know what was Jordan's high school? I don't even think I got it on the top of my head, you know.
You gotta be shitting me, Meyer. Are you trying to bring me out of tears here and get me back focused? Or
Trying to, yeah.
Laney High School,
Oh
man.
yeah, I was gonna say Delaney, but then I was like, I don't think that's right.
Yeah, but it was so interesting. So like I loved him then, and then in his early stages of his career, I kind of turned on him, and I thought that I wasn't ready for the next Jordan, and he
Right.
was very much Jordan-esque.
Because he played with Jordan.
I know, and I wasn't ready for that mantle or that torch to be passed, and I wanted something different, I guess. Like a LeBron coming along in that day and age would have been a better transition, I think, for a lot of fans because while he was great, their games weren't that similar. Kobe just came and was like almost like a copycat mirror image of Jordan out there, down to the bald head at the beginning. His turnaround jump shot, obviously the dunks and stuff, and then even like his mannerisms, I just thought were fake, and I thought that they were completely contrived and just modeling after Jordan. And then as I got older and he got older, he got like way more awesome because he started just like saying, I don't really give a shit about my image. And here's
Mamba
what I'm.
mentality.
I mean, it was such an awesome, like by the end, you were like, I love this dude. I love listening to his interviews. Like, I feel like I'm getting a real dude. And then into his retirement and stuff, I still got that sense. And you don't know celebrities. Obviously, we don't know Kobe Bryant. But you got this feeling that when you would see him with his daughters and stuff, courtside and all that stuff, like he was just enjoying being a dad, which we can all relate to. All of us dads can relate to, and I think that's why it hit so hard too. Was going to, and he was just being a dad like the rest of us, coaching his kids' teams, and enjoying retirement. Like he deserved that. He worked his ass off, and now he doesn't get a chance to see his family grow. He doesn't get to enjoy doing the things that he was doing off the court, and really we all lose in that situation because he had the influence, he had the means, and he had the power to influence a lot of things, and not a lot of people do that, and we have no way of knowing which way that would have went or where he would have put his money and his time and his effort, but the ability to do that was there. And now we don't get to see that play out, and people don't get to benefit from that, beyond his family.
Well, you can say his basketball retirement, but clearly he wasn't retired. I mean, if on a Sunday morning you're going to, and he's going to this academy that he founded, and it's not just for his daughter. I mean, there are all kinds of teams that were there. You can see some of the posts from their social media, and there's all kinds of kids there who are, a part of that academy, and that he was influencing their lives and trying to take a part in that, and that's the tragic part that'll continue to be a tragedy.
And one thing that hasn't been addressed, and like I said, I had to take a break from the media coverage, so I'm sure I probably missed it, but I honestly feel like the biggest, not the biggest loser, obviously that's the wrong way of phrasing it, but one of the big losers in this whole tragedy is the game of women's basketball. I truly feel like he was going to put a lot of time and resources and efforts into the women's side with his daughters growing up and playing And he would have been such a great ambassador for that, because the women's game lacks that star power and that transition. Like you said, how beloved Kobe was, and he could have shed a light, and he could have opened some doors, and he could have done a lot for the women's game. And I really do think that it was headed that way. And to have that's a big influencer, that's a big endorser, that's a big celebrity status that is gone and just taken from the women's game, which I think could have really helped propel the women's game too.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, you could see even in the way that he thought. He's a progressive thinker, spoke a bunch of languages. I remember one of the moments just recently that stood out to me was he was talking trash to my new stan Luka Doncic, and he was talking trash in his home language, and he spoke like 6 languages, and grew up in Italy. And I think that uniqueness is often what helps a person transcend from the sports world to becoming a single name person. Like my experience of this is more like Michael Jackson passing away, or Prince, or somebody like that, rather than an athlete. Usually when an athlete goes, it's they look back on their playing career, but he seemed like he would have been a person that would impact the world on, like you said, more than just the athletic field, and in a variety of different avenues. I mean, he just won an Oscar last year.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's I don't know how to address it. This is like uncharted territory too, and so fresh off of his playing days and stuff too. It almost has like a Lynn Bias feel to it, in a completely different way. But I obviously I was really, really little when the Lynn Bias stuff happened. But that's I don't know. That's the Reggie Lewis type stuff. But like at least there was like reasoning behind their deaths. Right. Like you could pinpoint and say, well, this happened because of this. I don't know. It's just a helicopter crash.
No, it seemed like more of a choice with them. Where it was like a personal thing, or I don't know.
Well, health issue, obviously.
Or health issue, exactly. Something that had been there from the beginning, where he's almost blessed to have made it that far with that underlying condition. So it's like the opposite of this, just senseless.
Yeah, it's just a gut punch. It just is a gut punch to the whole basketball community, and that's what's so unique about sports and the basketball community. We all play a very, very small role in the basketball community, but we're all so interconnected, with our love of the game and stuff. It's I think that always plays a part with how hard stuff hits you too, just because of the love of the sport and the love of the game, and everybody knows that Kobe passing away now outside of even outside of his playing days is a major loss to the sport and the community of basketball. And you could even make the argument for the same to be said for his daughter, because who knows what she goes on to become, who knows what she goes on to do for women's basketball and everything else in the future too. I think that's the hard part, is a lot of young people died in that crash that had their whole lives in front of them, and you can't fathom that. I can't fathom. Yeah, I have a really, really hard time.
No doubt. Well, I'm curious to hear what some of your just favorite Kobe moments are, because I know I've got a couple. I've got even one kind of personal story where I got to shake hands with him very briefly.
Yeah, tell me the story, because you text me about that, and you've never told me somehow. You've never told me.
So, well, it was just such a random thing. So I worked at this summer camp, not a basketball camp, but it was an academic camp, and I got word, I don't even know how, but someone was on Loyola Mariemont's campus. So I heard that Kobe Bryant, one of the weeks that I was there, was going to have his basketball camp there. I was like, well, that's cool. And then one of the nights, one of the staff, there's a Jamba Juice on the campus, which I frequented. So the guy at the Jamba Juice there was a student working there for the summer, and he's like, yeah, Kobe's going to be here tonight. They're going to have a pickup game for all the kids at his basketball camp. And I'm like, I've got to figure out how to go see this. I'm definitely going to watch this. And so he's like, all right, so I'm going to go too. Here, meet me here. I know a guy that is working at the rec center, and he'll get us into the gym. So this guy gets us into the gym. We get there before all the kids are even in there, but the athletes are in there. I can't remember who else was playing, but if I had had more time, I'll remember more of the guys that were playing. But there were several NBA players, but the one that stood out was Kobe. And I just remember him warming up because we got there and he was standing on the court just warming up, shooting his jump shot, and he had a pretty jump shot, but the amount of lift and arc that he had on it, and he would have been about 28, 29 at the time, so he was right in his prime, and it was incredible. And of course,
so you met older Kobe. I was thinking when you text me, it was like young Kobe, just like
this is like right in his prime.
This is like superstar, megastar.
This is it. Yeah,
already Hall of Famer Kobe Bryant.
This is like he had. And he flew in on his helicopter too. So Loyola Marymount, if you don't know, is like up on the hillside in Santa Monica. And I had actually met Peyton Manning there the year before, but it's this really pretty kind of vista. And so they shoot commercials there and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, he flew his helicopter in. And so, in that moment, I got to go up after they had done the scrimmage and just, they were having people just meet and greet, and just he walked by, shook his hand, and it was a cool game to watch too. I mean, he was one of those guys like Jordan that even if it's a pickup game for kids, he's still going to try to put on a show a little bit and make sure that all the other guys that were playing in the game knew that he was the best player out there. And it was very clear. It's weird to see other NBA players with such reverence for a guy, but he was one of those guys that the other NBA guys definitely had reverence for.
Yeah, that's super interesting, and that's the one thing. I've always been kind of outspoken on guys that I like and guys that I don't like, and when I say don't like, I just don't necessarily cheer for them. And part of that's with Kobe is the Lakers stuff and all that.
Definitely.
But none of that is ever demeaning or meant as a slight to their talent, because their talent is so immense that you have to appreciate that. And the other thing is the mentality, and I always kind of was like, Mamba mentality is kind of dumb. But I appreciated what it stood for, and it caught on, and people really like it. So I'm not a hater; it's just not for me, right? But
right.
But back to your story, the kind of the Mamba mentality. It was the Jordan mentality too.
Oh yeah.
So Jordan, Jordan would play in games, and I'm not talking about the flu game, but he would play in games where he wasn't feeling good. Whether that be sickness or whatever, there was no load management, and I'm not hating on the guys that do the load management. Take care of your body, get your bag, whatever. That's fine. But I do appreciate the Jordans and the Kobes that not only didn't take a day off, but played pickup ball, played at camps. And when they did so, they were the alpha dogs, and they were going to bust your ass, whether you were an NBA all-star playing with them, or if you were, a high school kid at a basketball camp, or if you were a college kid at Chapel Hill in a pickup game that just happened to be in the wrong pickup game or whatever.
Right, exactly. You came to get a run in at a kid's basketball camp, and Kobe's got a dunk on your head.
Right, exactly. So you weren't getting cheated. You were never getting cheated. Whether you were taking your family, spending the money or whatever, you knew that Jordan was going to play. You knew that Kobe was going to play, and you knew that inner drive in them was going to bring out the best of them, and that they were going out there to bust somebody's ass. And I thoroughly enjoy that and appreciate that aspect of it, especially in today's day of soft-ass load management. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope it does come back around, some of that mentality. Maybe this will crystallize some of that, because I think availability and just playing sometimes is the best skill. I mean,
Well, you know who else doesn't do the load management stuff? Not a huge fan of him either, but I'll give him credit where credit is
I
due.
do. I want to hear
LeBron.
you say it though.
You have to appreciate the
He
immense
does.
talent that he has and the fact that he brings it and that
Minutes
he wants
too.
every.
I feel like the media wants him to play less minutes. And he doesn't want to. And I think
No.
their job is performance, like showing up, being there. If I'm paying for a ticket, I want to see Kobe. I mean, again, part of my story was that for a pickup game for a kid's basketball camp, he showed up early so he can warm up. Like, I can't imagine very many of today's athletes doing that. And maybe some part of this will make him more of a cult-like figure, and some of that will translate. And if nothing else, already out there is his work ethic and the way that he approached the game, that cerebral approach. I mean, he had that ESPN show where he broke down film. I mean, you could tell he wasn't just like a player. He was a student of the game and loved the game. I think that he's going to have a legacy beyond today. It'll just be interesting to see the way it emerges.
So I have two Kobe stories to get back to what you said. None of them is actually meeting Kobe Bryant. So, F you for stealing the thunder, even though I opened the door for you to do so.
Yeah.
Number one really doesn't have much to do with him at all, but we were what were we, sophomores maybe at IU when the Kobe 2 came out, the Adidas Kobe 2.
Oh yeah.
And so Adidas did a major, like, I guess college campus campaign where they hung posters in all the bus stops all over Bloomington, and I went and stole every one of those sons of bitches.
No.
Yeah, took them all. I wanted them, and I think one. Remember?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like 3 weeks ago.
I probably was right behind you trying to get them, but they were already gone before I could get to them.
I remember going to catch the bus to go to class, and I'm like, fuck that. I said it. That's Kobe. That's a Kobe poster. You know I'm a poster guy. If you've ever been down to HQ, which I know you have, you know I'm a major poster guy, and I'm like, shit, I'm taking all of these. Didn't go to class, walked around from bus stop to bus stop, grabbed every one of them. I still have one. So now I got to frame that one that I have and put it up somewhere.
Definitely.
And then my second one was the NBA Finals against the Pacers, and I want to say it was Game 5. The Pacers won one game in that, right? Or did they get swept?
I can't remember now. I can't.
Well, it was the closeout game. I'm pretty sure it was the closeout game.
I think they did win one.
It was the closeout game. I'm pretty sure it was the one that sealed the deal for that championship. Whatever it was, Shaq got in early foul trouble. I was working at Burdett, which is our local pool down here, and I had to work a family fun night on Friday. They're the worst nights to work, and super busy, and brings out all the lovely people of the greater Evansville area on discounted family nights. And so I worked the cashier or the cash register, and my manager there, Tom, he was like, "Hey, that NBA game's on." I'm like, "I know, I'm missing it." And this is before the age of YouTube TV or Hulu or any of that stuff. Like you weren't streaming anything or watching it. Right. And so he went up to the office and got the TV and brought the TV down into the room that I was working so I could watch the game. And I thought the Pacers were going to win, and Shaq fouled out. That's what it was. It wasn't early foul trouble. He fouled out in the end.
He did.
It was a young Kobe, pretty young Kobe too.
Well, it's 2000, so he's like 4 years into the league. He was the youngest player in NBA history, right? So he was like 17 when he came in. So he's only like 21, 22.
All I know is that dude went absolutely bananas, and because I thought when Shaq went out, it was over. And they had no answer. And that was a very good Pacers team, very well coached, and a lot of good players, a lot of the right pieces, a definitely worthy NBA champion if they could get past them. And without Shaq, Kobe just single-handedly took over the game and just dominated and never hated on his game after that. Still didn't necessarily love him,
right?
The public persona, as I referenced earlier. But I'm like that guy has a shot to be a top 5, top 10 player of all time. Like it was very rare that I'd seen a performance like that where you just sit back and you're like, God damn,
What can you do?
nobody could do anything.
Yep.
And that was their singular focus. They did not have Shaq to worry about, and he just went bananas.
Yeah, it didn't matter. I think even LeBron later, it took him a while to get to that point.
See what that looks like now, because it was one of the best performances I'd ever watched, in the moment.
I think my second one kind of trend goes along with that in the finals again. Kobe had this second act, and I think that's what really cemented his legacy. I think I'd agree with you, top 10 ever. But it was the fact that even after Shaq left, he kind of battled through those years where they were on the bubble, almost ended up on my Bulls, which I was pulling for, but in the end didn't happen. And they get Pau Gasol, and he has this second act. And I was watching the Celtics, the second Celtics Lakers, and I was in the Boston area in Massachusetts, so everyone obviously wanted the Lakers to lose this, and just watching him have a horrible game. I think he was like 6 for 24 in the end in that game, but he just down the stretch absolutely willed them to victory. I mean, this is older Kobe again, but just when he wanted to go to the hole, he had that mindset where I don't care if I've missed the last 20 shots, I'm going right at it again, and I believe this one's going in.
Well, didn't he end up with like 12 rebounds or something too? Like
I think so.
8 offensive rebounds. I mean,
yeah.
I remember watching that at B-Dubs in Evansville with some friends, and I'm like, there's no way the Lakers win this when Kobe Bryant cannot hit a freaking shot from the field. I mean, he just was broke. And a lot of that had to do with, obviously, the Celtics defense, too. But you're right. He just made winning play after winning play after winning play after winning play, whether it was like loose balls or rebounds or assists or defensive stops and, just kind of the heart of the champion type stuff. I know that's all cliche as hell to say, but, the guy was just a fierce competitor. That Mamba mentality. I love the Mamba mentality. I feel like I need to clear that up. I love the Mamba mentality. Like, I love the point behind it. I just hate the name.
Yeah. But I think it's one of those things that if you repeat it enough, it's when I first heard it, I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. But the more you said it, and because he has owned it so wholly, it's become endearing. It really has. Right.
So that's all I really have. Unless you have more, more.
I think that's a good place. I think it's one of those moments where I appreciate being able to just talk it over with you, because it has been a weird experience just seeing a contemporary like that, someone that even though it wasn't part of their life, definitely felt like their whole life. And it was, happened right after the IU game where I was mad IU lost, and it really snaps life into perspective real quick when something like that happens.
Yeah, it does. And again, we felt like we just needed to come on and kind of express ourselves because we love the game, right? And Kobe was a huge part of it. And, hopefully we hit it from some angles that haven't been covered on the live coverage and just talk real talk and really express, kind of what we're going through and what we're feeling. And I talked about basketball being a community. We all kind of grieve and we all kind of hurt as a community. We all kind of celebrate. We all kind of love as a community too. And it's just, one of those things that kind of brings everybody together, whether you were a Kobe guy, non-Kobe guy, or what have you. I don't think anybody could argue that today wasn't just an awful day in the basketball world. So it was fun coming on, and fun in relative terms, but good to come on and just kind of express and get that out of you.
Well said, man. I think sports and stories are the way that, for me, they help me interpret the world and understand a world that can just seem senseless sometimes. So it's good to be able to hear stories and know that a person who's gone too soon is going to live on, and even to be a small part of that legacy.
Right, and we'll come back and we'll get the Hoosiers, the movie Hoosiers, a little bit later on. We'll try to record something later on this week about that, even though I don't want to do that, and you're making me. But
we're doing it.
All right,
it's gonna be good.
My vote for the record was above the rim. I just want that one.
Well, we're gonna do above the rim too.
We'll say it 15,000 times on the next podcast. So we appreciate you guys tuning in and listening, and hopefully this hit home with you guys, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, Meyer.
All right, man.